Hello everyone and welcome to part 10 of the BMC 1.8 diesel engine build. Now, as I've already mentioned, this is going to be for a marine application, so I've just painted the sort of bell housing, which is just sat over the flywheel at the moment, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So before we go any further then, I just want to do my little health and safety pitch. Now, the first thing I've done is I've got this second-hand dolly, and it fits a half-size pallet perfectly. And what that allows me to do is knock up these little temporary engine bearers. Okay, so the engine's sitting completely level. There's no play and no risk of the engine rocking side to side and falling off the dolly. And it also allows me to, in an open space, move the dolly around and get to various parts that I need to access on the block itself without having to pick it up with a crane every time. I try and keep the time spent on the crane to the minimum. Now the crane then, okay, second-hand crane, eBay special, okay, rated up to 1 ton. Now I'm just going to go over some mistakes that I made in my younger days, so that you don't have to. So the BMC block is getting heavier and heavier as we start adding these components on, and it's only going to get heavier when we add the gearbox, heat exchanger, exhaust, fuel injection pump. It's going to be a heavy old beast. Now this extending arm here then, 1 ton, 3/4 ton, so on and so forth, okay, I try and keep it to sort of no more than 3/4 ton. I've made the mistake before where I needed the reach. I've had it on its last setting, 1/4 ton, and the whole crane with the engine suspended tried to tip, and I've quickly had to get someone to stand on the back to balance it out. So I try and keep the arm on this 1 ton crane no more than half extended. Engine stand then, okay, generic engine stand, cheap enough to buy brand new again off eBay or Facebook Marketplace, whatever it is you're using, okay, but just ensure that whenever you're working it, that the pin is in place, okay, that the engine's secured properly, okay. We'll cover this again later on, how I got the bolts and stuff like that, but just making sure that that is secured when you're working it. And I always advise having another person with you when you start to rotate it, just in case there's any slippage or anything like that. Okay, so getting back to our block then. So my camera kind of failed on me when I started doing the flywheel, but we'll just quickly go over what we've done so far, which takes us up to where we're going to continue from. So I'm just going to take the bell housing off for a moment, and we'll just go over this then. So the flywheel itself then, okay, what it includes then is underneath there's a oil seal retaining plate, okay, with about 4 bolts in it. That helps keep pressure on the oil seal, thus making a good seal. So that's gone on already. Like the flywheel retaining plate, okay, it has these bend over tabs that are slightly pre-bent. They can be a bit of an arse to get to, okay, but they need folding over to retain the oil plate. I've taken lots of these engines apart, okay, and the plates have been put on, but they haven't been folded, so they're not actually servicing a purpose. So oil seals on, in the gearbox adapter plate, all done, all torqued up. Flywheel's then on. What I say about the flywheel then is when you go to tighten up the flywheel bolts to the spec, the flywheel is going to try and rotate. Now we've got the flywheel on then, just here as you work your way around, okay, there's a slightly smaller recess, not too dissimilar from the 5mm hole on the fuel injection pump plate, which allows you to put a 5mm peg through, which will go through the gearbox adapter plate and hold it in place. So you can rotate the engine, put your peg through there, and then that will secure it and stop it from rotating, allowing you to do these bolts up. Again, the tabs are being folded over, okay, and what I've done is I've just taken a flat edge, bent them over to the best of the ability, because it is quite a tight working area, okay, and then I've just taken a file over just to get rid of any rough edges. So the flywheel, everything's still rotating fairly easily, And what I'm going to do now is rotate that and then get the peg in place. Okay, we're going to try and get the fuel injection pump nipped. So what we're doing then is we're looking from the rear of the engine, and you'll be able to see the teeth in there with the larger sort of opening, which is the master spline. So we're going to rotate the crankshaft and get that master spline at the 12 o'clock position. Once we're happy with that, then we rotate the flywheel, okay, in the normal direction of operation. And then that hole that I mentioned earlier, okay, you just roughly put your scribing tool in, or whatever you want to call it, your peg, okay, and you just rotate the crankshaft in the normal direction until you feel that lock into the hole that's inside or on the gearbox adapter plate. So if we just spin around there, okay, you see it just comes out underneath there, and that's that pegged in place. What you're then looking for, okay, is that master spline that we mentioned to be roughly at the 8 o'clock position. Okay, so you know you're fairly on target, okay, if you're looking at it at the 8 o'clock position when faced from the rear. So this next part can either be the part of dreams or the part of nightmares. It depends on the engine. I think they've all got their own personalities. So I've taken my new gasket and I've put it in place, obviously leaving the open hole just down here that we mentioned earlier. Torsion bar then, okay. Torsion bar has a matching master spline, okay, which matches up with our 8 o'clock position. Okay, and you can just wiggle that. And that's how it sits in place. Now, there, as I said, are original tools that make this a lot easier, but they're like rocking horse shit. So you're not going to get hold of them. This is the way I've done it. So the next part is a bit of a wrestle. Now, I'm not going to try and hold the camera and do it. I'm just going to get it roughly lined up. But my idea, and the way I've always done it, is I guide that torsion bar into the fuel injection pump opening. Okay, and then I try and wiggle it so that it's sitting on the pegs. Now the holes, the actual bolt holes on the injection pump are widened or extended, so that gives you a bit more play. And then what we're looking at doing is guiding that over. Okay, it's going to take a bit of twist, a bit of pressure, guide that pump on, okay, and get it sitting on the studs. And once that's done, we can get some washers and nuts on there. The rear one being the nightmare child, just down here. Okay, but we're going to try and get those on. Now, you're not going to try and want to force it all the way on, because then you'll never get this bolt on. So we just want to get it sitting on that torsion bar, okay, with enough room to wiggle the washer and nut in on this side. Okay, in the case of this one then, okay, this was the evil stepchild that no one wants. So it took a bit of a wrestling with this one, obviously not having the factory tools that I mentioned earlier. So what we've done is we've guided it on, we've managed to get it with a torsion bar, okay, and get the pump to draw itself in. We've left enough clearance to get this little badger down here, this 5/8 bolt, okay, just biting on there now, because there's no clearance between that and this item here. So it's on there now. We need to make sure that these threads prior are as clean and serviceable as they can be, because pair of long fingers, okay, you can approach from above and below, okay, and start winding that on to the point where you'll be able to get something in there to tighten that up to spec. Okay, but these ones are on, okay, and the one below just down here. Okay, getting back to the arrow that I mentioned in one of the early videos. Okay, now when this pump came back from, in this case, M&B, okay, in Glasgow, who reconditioned this pump, okay, the scribing mark on this one, okay, is just there for timing. So we're going to roughly line that up, okay, with the pointer on here, and then when we come to testing the engine, we can adjust accordingly the advance and retard, just to get this engine running sweetly. But that's what that scribe mark's for, and that's what our indicator's for. Okay, so once we get our fuel pump in, then what we can do is we can get the injector lines. They come in pairs, okay, and they've usually got these lock brackets on them to lock them together for stability. What I tend to do is take these off, okay, it just gives you a bit of play to get these in. So injector 1, 2, 3 and 4, Okay, relevant pipes go to the corresponding ports on the injector pump. Okay, if you've taken them off and replacing them, try and remember the order they go in. But it's quite easy to work them out because they'll only fit clearly in one place. If you get stuck then, what you can do is jump onto Calcut Boat's website and have a look at the parts list for the 1.8, and they've actually got detailed drawings of replacement pipes. So if you get stuck, you can match up your pipes, okay, and then match them up into the corresponding places. Okay, not overly tightened at the moment, okay, just nipped up, okay, to cause them a bit of stability, but you will be cracking these open when it comes to sort of bleeding the system. But that's our injector pipes on. So just a few accessories then, okay, on the injector pump, which we'll cover a little bit later on, okay, just the throttle linkage and stuff like that, but that's predominantly the injector pump now fitted. Okay, so I'll put our two brackets on then. Okay, the top one for the fuel injection pump control then, new spring on there. Okay, and this one pointed in a sort of 3 o'clock position facing down there. That's how I do mine because it's nice and in line with the control itself. Slightly longer bolt on that one, washer and nut. Okay, and then just to show the operation, okay, throttle on, okay, and then once throttle off, okay, obviously retained. Got to order one more spring then, okay, but we've mentioned our stop control down here, our fuel cut off. Okay, it's not on a return spring at the moment, but again, that lower plate, okay, at a 6 o'clock position, pointing down with the eye or the hole there, corresponds with the control down there. Okay, and that will be our stop control down the bottom. But in essence, that's the fuel injection pump nipped. Okay, all done. Bar actually linking that up to its application itself, but quite satisfied, easier than some I've done, but look forward to the bleeding process in a later video. Thanks for watching.